Hello and welcome back to Betting School from the Form Guide. This is course 7, Why Favourites Lose. And it is different from everything we have done so far because today nothing is hypothetical. Every number in this course comes from 12 months of UK and Irish racing, 17,000 races, analysed by our own model, the same engine that prices up the daily shows. Here is the roadmap. First, the headline. How often the favourite actually wins and the paradox buried inside that number. Then we go hunting for where favourites are strongest and weakest, by field size, by handicap or not, and by the state of the ground, with one genuine surprise waiting in the mud. Then the false favourite framework, the 3 checks our model runs before every show. Then what happens to a race when the favourite is vulnerable, and the price question that decides whether any of it earns a penny. An honest chapter, because the market deserves one, then recap and home. Kettle on, let's meet the paradox. Here is the paradox, and the whole course lives inside it. In nearly every race, the favourite is the most likely winner. The market has weighed every opinion in the land and put this horse at the top. And yet, most of the time, the favourite loses. Both things are true at once, and neither cancels the other. Most likely is not the same as likely. A horse can be the single best guess in the race and still be odds against the world. Punters who miss that distinction back favourites as if short prices were promises. So before any folklore, we go to the data, a full year of results, run through our own model, and let the real numbers speak first. Time for the headline number. 12 months of racing, 17,000 races through the model, and one simple question asked of every single one. Did the horse the market like best actually win? Here is the answer, though, and it is the most useful single statistic in this entire game. The green bar is the answer. Across the whole year, favourites won 34.8% of their races. Call it one race in 3, but not a lot more. Which means the red bar, 65.2%, is the everyday reality. In nearly 2 races out of 3, the most fancied horse in the market gets beaten. Now look at the small blue bar underneath, because it is the context everything else stands on. Picking a runner at random from these fields wins only 10.2% of the time. So the favourite is roughly 3.5 times better than blind luck. The market is genuinely good at this, and still most afternoons most favourites lose. Hold both halves of that sentence. The rest of the course is about the gap between them. Let's take the paradox apart properly. 34.8% is a remarkable number in one sense. The crowd, arguing with its wallet, picks the winner of a 10-runner puzzle one time in 3. No pundit on earth sustains that across 17,000 races. But flip it over and the same number reads as a warning. A punter who backs every favourite is wrong twice for every time they are right. And as we will see in the price chapter, being right that often still is not enough on its own. So the question that actually matters is never whether favourites win, it is which favourites win and at what price. That is where the splits come in. First split. How many rivals the favourite has to beat? Same year, same 17,000 races, cut 3 ways by field size. In small fields, 8 runners or fewer. Favourites won 40.9% of the time, better than 2 in 5. In middling fields of 9 to 12, that drops to 32.9. And in the big cavalry charges, 13 runners or more, the favourite wins just 26.5%. Barely 1 in 4. That is a 14-point slide from top to bottom, the biggest swing we will see in the whole course, and it is why the gold line marks the all races average of 34.8. Small field favourites sit well above it, big field favourites well below. Why does field size move the number so hard? Because every extra runner is another way for the story to go wrong. In a 6-runner race, the best horse usually gets a clean look. Room to travel, a pace that makes sense, 1 or 2 genuine dangers. In a 20-runner handicap, the best horse still has to survive traffic, a draw, a scrimmage at the first bend, and 18 rivals each rolling their own dice. Class gets mugged by chaos. Notice what this is not saying. It is not that big field favourites are bad value, because their prices are usually bigger too. It says the win rate itself is structurally lower. and any favourite in a big field starts one check down in our framework. Second split, and it is nearly as dramatic, what kind of race it is. In non-handicaps, maidens, novices, the top conditions races, favourites won 41.6% of the time across the year. In handicaps, that collapses to 29.9, not even 3 in 10. 12 points of daylight between the green bar and the red one, with the all races average of 34.8 sitting between them. Think about what that means for a typical Saturday, which is wall-to-wall handicaps. The favourites filling the television coverage are the 29.9 kind, not the 41.6 kind. The market knows the handicap is a harder puzzle. Plenty of punters bet as if it were the same puzzle. This split has an author and he works for the racing authorities. The handicapper's entire job is to compress ability. The better your horse, the more weight it carries until, in theory, the whole field crosses the line together. Non-handicaps have no such leveller, so genuine class differences show up in the results. And the market's top pick lands better than 2 times in 5. A handicap is the opposite machine. It is designed to beat the obvious horse. So the same punter confidence that is roughly justified in a novice at even money is quietly misplaced in a big field handicap at the same price. One label on the race card, the word handicap, and it moves the favourite's real chance by 12 points. Third split, vote the ground, and here is the surprise we promised. Group every race by going fast ground, good, slow and heavy. On fast ground, favourites won 34.9%. On good ground, 35.0%. On slow ground, 36.3%. And in the heavy, the mud that folklore says turns every race into a lottery, 33.7%. Look how flat that is. Barely 2.5 points separate the whole range against the 14-point swing field size gave us. As a group, favourites win at almost exactly the same rate, whatever the heavens have done. The lottery in the mud story, at least at this level, simply is not in the data. So does the going not matter? Careful. That is not what the flat bars say. They say the going does not matter in aggregate because the market has already priced it in. When the rain comes, mud lovers shorten, ground haters drift, and a new favourite emerges who suits the conditions. By the time the flag drops, the average favourite fits the average ground. What the market can miss is the individual case, the horse promoted to favouritism on reputation that has never actually won on today's surface. That is a horse level question, not a weather level one. Hope you answer it from the form book, one favourite at a time, which is exactly what the framework in the next chapter does. Now we build the tool the course is named after. A false favourite is a horse at the top of the market, whose real chance is smaller than its price implies, loved for reasons the data does not support. Our model runs 3 checks on every favourite before every daily show. Here they are in the open. Check 1, the cold trainer. Horses are only as ready as their yards, so the model looks at each trainer's strike rate over the last fortnight. A favourite from a yard that cannot buy a winner is leaning on old form. Check 2, no win on the going. Not merely unproven, never won on today's ground group despite chances. The crowd backs the reputation, the ground argues back. Check 3, a wide draw in a big field. And remember, big fields already drag favourites down to 26.5% before the stalls are even numbered. 1 flag is caution, 2 or more, and the model treats it as a false favourite candidate. Not a horse that will lose, a horse whose price says more than the evidence does. Why do false favourites matter so much? Because of what a favourite does to every other price in the race. The favourite soaks up the money and the book pushes everything else out to balance. So the second, third and fourth in the market are all priced in the favourite's shadow. Remember the headline, in 65.2% of races, something beats the favourite anyway. When the framework says this particular favourite is flagged twice over, the rest of the race is suddenly interesting. Horses whose prices were inflated by respect for a reputation the data does not share. That is how the model frames it on the shows. Never simply oppose the favourite, but ask which rival's price was stretched by the false one. The value, as always, lives in the prices around the story. One chapter of cold water before the honest one. Everything so far has been about win rates, and course 3 taught us that win rates on their own decide nothing. A win rate only means something when it is held up against a price. So let's do exactly that with one real number from our year of data waiting at the end. 3 bars, all in pence back per pound staked. First, a horse with a genuine 40% chance taken at 4 to 6. Each win returns £1.67 and 40 wins per 100 ads, up to just 66.7 pence back per pound. A slow puncture, dressed as a banker. Second, a horse with only a 25% chance taken at 4 to 1. Each win returns £5. And 25 of them per 100 means £1.25 back. A horse that loses 3 times in 4, printing money. And the gold bar is real. Across our entire year, backing every single favourite level stakes returned 88.2 pence per pound, a 34.8% win rate, 3.5 times better than chance, and still 12 pence in the pound lighter because the prices were never quite big enough. Sit with that gold bar because it is the whole of betting school in one number. Favourites are the best forecasters in the market. And blindly backed, they returned 88.2 pence per pound over a full year. The forecasting was real. The prices were simply a little too short and the margin did the rest. It is the 90% win rate from course 3 wearing racing silks. A 40% winner at 4 to 6 is a worse bet than a 25% winner at 4 to 1 every day of the week. So the framework's job is never to find losers. It is to find the favourites whose prices claim even more than usual, because that is where the 12 pence of leak becomes a flood. Every betting school course carries an honest chapter, and this one owes the market an apology in advance. We have spent 8 chapters on why favourites lose. Now, the other half of the truth, most of the time, the favourite was still the right call, and anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something. Here is what the data actually says when you stand back. Favourites win 34.8% of races against a random baseline of 10.2. The market, arguing with its own money, is a genuinely brilliant forecasting machine, and the favourite is usually the most likely winner for good reason. Even back blind, the leak was 12 pence in the pound. The margins work mostly, not stupidity, at the top of the market. So the false favourite framework is not a system, and we will never sell it as one. It finds exceptions, a handful of races a week where the checks stack up, and it earns nothing on the weeks they don't. Anyone promising a method that beats every favourite is promising to outthink 17,000 crowds. And the honest line that threads every course, losing runs live inside every method. If a bad month would touch money that matters, the stakes are wrong, or the hobby is. Let's carve the year of data into stone. Favourites win 34.8% of races, 3.5 times better than chance, and still 2 defeats for every win. Field size is the biggest lever. 40.9% in fields of 8 or fewer, sliding to 26.5 in fields of 13 plus. The handicapper is the great compressor, 41.6 in non-handicaps, 29.9 in handicaps. The going barely moves the group and 33.7 to 36.3 because the market reprices for rain. The danger is the individual favourite unproven on the day's surface. The framework runs 3 checks: cold trainer, no win on the going, wide draw in a big field. 2 flags make a false favourite candidate, and the interesting prices are the rivals the favourite inflated. And the gold number over everything. Backed blind, favourites returned 88.2 pence per pound because win rates decide nothing until they meet a price. And that completes course 7. You can now do something most racegoers never learn. Read a favourite the way the data does. You know the real headline. 1 win in 3, not the coin flip the prices sometimes suggest. And you know exactly where that number stretches and snaps. Small fields and non-handicaps near 40%. Big field handicaps down in the 20s. You can run the 3 checks yourself. The cold trainer, the going question, the draw. And when the flags stack up, you know to look at the prices the favourite inflated rather than simply shouting against it. Above all, you know the gold number. Even the best forecasters in the market returned 88 pence in the pound-backed blind because win rate means nothing until it meets a price. Next time we take the logical step that follows the maths of staking. How much a method can sensibly risk and why the answer is smaller than almost everyone thinks. Subscribe so it lands in your feed and the daily shows 7, midday, 4, and 10. Run these exact checks on real favourites every single day. Now the serious bit, said with love. Everything in betting school is education and opinion only, and never financial advice and never an instruction to bet. Betting is for adults aged 18 and over with money and time you can comfortably spare, and no framework removes the losing runs. If it ever stops being fun or starts to feel like a need, talk to someone. That is begambleaware.org. Thank you for studying with me. See you in course 8.